get your COVID shot yet?
I did. I got the first one, and then I get the second one next Tuesday.
How's
How
it?
about you?
How's it treating you?
Man, my arm was so sore the after the first one, but other than that, I had no side effects, nothing crazy. Just my arm was sore the next day. Like I couldn't move it past. I would say like if I was just going up, I couldn't get it parallel. And then like throughout the day, I just massaged it, put some lidocaine on it, and then I played basketball the next night. So like I was fine. But that was the only thing. Other than that, nothing, man.
I
And
thought I thought I got bamboozled or whatever because I went up there and I waited in line and everything at the VA, and I got up there to the lady and she daggone wiped my shoulder down and she did the little joint and she did the motion, but I didn't feel the prick or nothing. I was just like, either you that good or you just like you shot me up with some water. I didn't touch nothing or whatever.
man, she must have been good.
Yeah, I was like, next time I come back, I need to find you. She's like, if you do the
Yeah.
drive-through, I'll be here.
Because my wife, the same thing. My wife had no issue. She was like, I'm not even sore, nothing. I think I just had a lady who was mad that day and just just stabbed it in hard, man.
Yeah, because I haven't nothing wrong with my shoulder and anything like that.
That's
I had
good.
a headache the day after, but I'm straight now.
Yeah. Do you for the podcast, does it go straight to audio or do you post the video as well?
Both. The
Both. Okay.
video usually goes up a week before the audio or a
Okay.
couple of days before the audio, but both of them.
Okay. Do you want me am I too dark? Do you want me to get a light or is it good? Your
Hey
call.
man, I said we all dark in here. No, you good to go, man.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure.
Whatever your preference is, I can roll with it. But I mean, so let me get this out of the way real quick because I have a problem with names both foreign and domestic.
No,
So
you're good.
don't take it to offense. I just can't get your last name.
Now give it a shot. I want to see how you say
All right, let me look at it again.
it.
Because your first name is Raheel, right?
Yeah, Raheel.
Yeah. So I got that.
Yeah. And it's on my Zoom window too, my last name. You can even look at that. If you can see it.
No, man, don't make me
Try it. I just want to see it. I just want to see it. Because it's really, you'll probably get it right.
There's a Ramzanali.
Yeah, Ramzanali.
Ramzanali. Okay.
Yeah. It sounds exactly the way it looks.
I don't know. Because I don't know if you been keeping, if you watching wrestling or anything like that. Because I know you had Damian Priest on a while back.
Yeah.
But Mustafa Ali or whatever. And everybody was like, always Mustafa Ali or whatever. And I just like, oh man, I don't want to say nothing wrong.
I think he actually, yeah. So I think everyone says Mustafa Ali, but I think he pronounces it Mustafa Ali, which is the correct pronunciation. But I think he's probably used to it too. And man, I love that guy. He's such a cool dude.
Oh yeah, and especially since the whole thing with like what he doing now with, well, prior to the split, I guess. I just dig him in general or whatever, and then for them to give him a stable and all that, I was like really dope. I was really hype about it, and then it just kind of WWE things.
Yeah, WWE. Cool. Yeah, it's a Raheel Ramzanali.
All right. So I'm gonna kick my intro. I introduce you the best way I can.
Yeah.
And then we'll just kind of go from there.
And how long are we gonna go? You think roughly 30, 35, 40 minutes? What do you think?
Yeah, whatever time you have a lot, because I know I didn't skimmed some of that off or whatever, but it's as long as you.
Yeah, we're good. I got a good 40 in me, so.
All right, cool.
Yeah, we should be good.
I get the rambling and whatever, we go all over the place.
No, you're good.
Got to raise your hand. Well, as best as you can, because I know your shoulder was jacked up.
Yeah, it's all good now, luckily.
All right. And what up, everybody? This your boy B-Rob, and I am back with another edition of the Random Rambles with Rob podcast. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you, the listener, for coming back each and every week, or however you listen to podcast. If you're a first-time listener, I'd like to thank you oh so much for giving my show a try. And if anybody recommended you to me, go ahead and lean over and get that person a crisp high five. But remember, we in a era to where we can't give those crisp high fives like we used to. So remember to sanitize before and after, and then push yourself back that 3 to 6 feet so you can be safe. But if you want to be socially conscious and whatnot, pick up your social media app of choice and send that person a well-crafted DM to tell them thank you for recommending you to me. Speaking of social media, you can find the Random Rambles with Rob on various social media platforms to include Twitter at 3R Show, Instagram at the 3R Show, YouTube, we got content on there, and anything that I may have forgotten to mention, you can go to randomrob.com and you can find it all there, to include merchandise, because during the month of March, my birthday month, we got all kinds of discounts and everything going on, whatever. So go to randomrob.com and get your stuff and make me happy for my birthday. I mean, or you can just DM me. You can say hi for my birthday. I mean, you don't have to spend any money. It's not all about this monetary value or whatnot. You just let me know you're thinking about me sometimes. You know, you can give me a 5-star review on one of these other platforms that I mentioned or whatever, but that is another thing for another day. Joining me now, got to set this up a little bit. So I am not native to the Houston area, and I moved here after I retired and whatnot. So I am becoming accustomed to the Houston culture, the Texas culture, if you will, and whatnot. And one of the things that I guess was a new thing for me being here in Houston, because it's one of the biggest cities that I ever lived in my lifetime. I'm from a little bitty ass town in Louisiana called Lake Charles. So it's just a little bitty city perpetrating like it's a big city because we got casinos and junk, right? So here I am in Houston with all these sports teams that I'm not accustomed having in Louisiana, other than LSU and the Saints and the Pelicans and whatnot. So moving to Texas, I am not associating myself with any of these teams other than the Astros, because Louisiana does not have a baseball team. And there was one other team that I was going to give a pass to, one being the XFL team named the freaking Houston Roughnecks. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be my team without having to be, really rooted in Houston, because we starting from scratch. They coming in, and I go to the first game. I got some tickets, and I'm sitting there, and I see this young man to my right. And he's just sitting there. He's being charismatic. He's having a good time. He's getting crowd surfed all over the place. Our team was undefeated. We was going to have the championship there. And no doubt in my mind that he was going to be leading the charge. He's going to get in the crowd hype. He's going to get the crowd motivated. And I was just going to be sitting there with my XFL football that is now a collector's item at the moment. And we was just going to have a great old time there in the stadium for the Houston Roughnecks. But joining me is the man that was leading the charge for me. He's getting me hyped before every game and during every game and halftime and all this stuff. One, Raheel. I can't get it.
You got it. Come on.
It came to me, but I lost it.
You got it. Ramzanali.
Ramzanali. All right, there you go. Everybody know that I'm historically trash at saying names, foreign and domestic. So there it is. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. Hey, you tried it. You know what? That's all we wanted. We wanted the effort, and you went for it. You kind of froze. I'll walk you through it. It was all good, and it's fine, man. It's one of the hardest last names to say, but once you say it a few times, you're like, oh, that makes sense. So I applaud you trying, man. That's the biggest thing. And thank you so much for having me on the show, man. I appreciate you letting me be part of the show and helping me talk to your audience.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I appreciate you bear with me and giving me your time and whatnot. But let's talk about a couple things, because that was my key thing. Whatever, me bringing eyes to you is through the Houston Roughnecks and whatnot. So I mean, I really want to know more about that, because it was a fairly new thing to Houston, and then with the circumstances that we were hit with, it was just gone as quickly as it came in. So, I mean, what was that like for you, and how did that come about?
So when the Roughnecks initially came back, right, it was actually the XFL first came back, and we all kind of looked at it like, okay, is this just going to be another Vince McMahon XFL, money grab and just kind of capitalize on something. And that's what it felt like for a second, right? And then you saw Oliver Luck involved. And that to me was like, whoa, they're actually, spending some money. They're getting real football people involved. So this isn't going to be a bid. This isn't some sideshow league like the original XFL was. And then we saw the team announcements. We saw the team names. Then we saw the president announced for the team, which was Brian Michael Cooper, highly respected in the sports world here in the city of Houston. And then we saw some of the other upper management and front office roles get filled out. And I was like, wow, this is a legit operation. This isn't just some sideshow league. This is a real league, and they're going to try to compete for that coveted spring football. So I reached out to a mutual friend of mine that I knew through some other people, and he was like, hey, actually, one of your good friends that you worked with at the Skeeters is actually going to be doing the PR, and that was Jay. So I reached out to Jay and I was like, hey man, I just want to be involved because I was like you, I could feel like there's something special happening. There was some kind of momentum building with the team name, the way they announced it, the Roughnecks, right? Like it embodied our city and all that. It was great. So I reached out to Jay Lucas, and I was like, hey man, I just want to be involved somehow, some way. He put me in touch with Bert Emanuel, who you remember from Rice. He was with the Falcons. The Bert Emanuel rule is in place actually because of Bert. And I went in and, I just interviewed. He's like, look, I've got a couple of positions open right now. And, your resume is great. Jay speaks highly of you. And we're not sure where we're going to fit you in all of this. So he brought me in. We just sat and talked. And he's like, okay, after the interview, towards the end, he goes, look, I'm just going to show you my cards right now. I don't care. I'm not going to play games with you. I think you'd be great as our stadium host. And I was like, wow, that'd be awesome. Right. Cause I thought it was just going to be a behind the scenes thing. I just want to be involved somehow, some way. Right. So he's like, look, I'm thinking you'd be great as a stadium host. You're great at improv. You love football. And I think you'd get along with the players. What they had in mind, Rob, was they wanted me to interview players after touchdowns like they were doing on TV, but they wanted to do it in the stadium, right? Like we tried it, and I'll give you some more stories in a second. So he's like, I think you'd be great because of my ESPN radio stuff that I was doing at the time. So I said, man, I would be honored, right? So we interviewed again. I went in for another interview. I remember I put Battle Red, like a red sweater on just so I could kind of show that like I'm all about the Roughnecks. And Bert was like, I love you, man. I think you're going to do great. There's one more person we're going to interview and we'll let you know. So a month goes by and I'm like, man, I didn't get it. I was like, I was bummed because I really wanted it. I was excited and nothing happened. And then I remember actually my sister was getting married, and that day he emails me. He's like, hey man, so what happened was I got an email from the XFL front office HR department. And it was just like, hey, fill out these forms. And I'm like, wait, for what? Like I'm confused. And then the next day, Bert's like, hey, so you got the position. I was like, yeah, I figured because the HR department ruined it. Like I thought I was going to get this great call, like, hey, you're on the team, buddy. But the HR email came through on the day my sister is getting married. So I'll never forget that. And the rest is history, man. And I got a bunch of great stories for you, but I just got involved through that, just my networking. And luckily, the stars aligned, and sometimes you get lucky. And man, I'm so grateful for that experience.
Yeah, so what are we in the holding pattern right now?
As far as I know, yes. So here's what happened for the listeners that don't know. Of course, we went 5 games, right? The Roughnecks were undefeated. We had the best home crowd.
And we was gonna have the championship
I know the championship, Rob. You don't understand, bro. Like the championship, man. And I actually talked to Brian Michael Cooper on one of my podcasts after the fact, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, if the team had won a championship, would the stadium host get a championship ring from the team?" And he said,
yes.
And he goes, absolutely, yes, you would have. And I was like, oh, yes. Man, I could have been a champion on an official pros team, right? And not only that, like it was just, it was so much fun. And like we were not given the opportunity to complete the season. So for the listeners, we had 5 games. COVID-19 hit. March 11th was the official shutdown. We actually had a game against New York, against the Guardians that weekend. And up until that Thursday, we were supposed to travel. Like it was still going to happen. And then, of course, the NBA folds and they said, hey, we're good. We're going to pause. The March Madness tournament pause. And then I think the XFL was the last one they were holding on because, Vince really wanted this to work out. Oliver really wanted this to work out. And they just couldn't get it approved by health officials, from my understanding, because the city of New York was going through it. I mean, that was ground zero in terms of COVID-19 when it first started. So it would be a bad look, right, to have a public gathering of that many people during the onset of a pandemic. So then, the message from the team was, hey guys, we're on break. We're just going to pause. Okay. Everything's good. We'll kind of, be like every other league. We'll figure out as we go and kind of see what we can do. Time goes by. We're all, sheltered in place and at home. And then I actually got a few text messages like a month and a half later. I think that's when they shut down. I got a few text messages saying, sorry, man, that sucks. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? Because I was with my buddy. We were just playing tennis at the time because we're just trying to like find anything to do because again, we're still all active, locked down. So like I was like, cool, let's go play some tennis. And I get all these text messages and then I go to Twitter and sure enough, people tagged me on Twitter, saying, man, we had a great time. And I'm like, well, again, what are you guys talking about? And then I saw that the news, like the XFL is bankrupt and it's shut down. And I mean, I was heartbroken, man, because one, I loved working with the people there. They were the nicest people. I owe a lot to that front office, Bert Emanuel. And this is something we can talk about, like having minority representation in sports, why it's important, right? Because Bert Emanuel looked at me and said, hey, man, I'm going to give you the shot, right? And to work with the XFL on a national level, pretty much, I had so much cachet and like Shane McMahon was there. We had some TV trials that I'll tell you about, which is really cool. But like you're in front of these great people, right? And Bert took that opportunity and I'll forever be grateful to him. I always, anytime, I landed a SaberCats stadium hosting job because of that, because they saw my work. Some other pro teams reached out to me and we just couldn't get something done, but it was all because they saw me with the Roughnecks. And I was just, it took my career to the next level, even though we only had 5 games.
The red looked better than the yellow on you, though.
Yeah, for sure, man. I know it's hard. Hey, I'll be honest, it's hard to match a lot of J's with yellow and black, the Roughnecks, we could wear a lot of different colors, but it was awesome, man. But then the league goes bankrupt and then The Rock comes in and buys it with his business partners. And right now, from what I know, none of the front office is associated with the XFL still because everyone was let go from their jobs. Everyone has kind of moved on. So it is a holding pattern, but I think all the other planes that are involved in that holding pattern have landed, right? The only plane that's still looping around is the Roughnecks and the XFL, but all the other management team, workers, everyone, we've kind of all moved on, and we'll find out, what will happen. The rumor, I think you saw this with the Canadian Football League. So we just go off of rumors. We don't know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I knew. I wish I had some communication with them because I never got any of my tape from the Roughnecks. Like the team there, like all my stadium hits I was going to use for my demo reel, right? I never got a copy of those because that week the team was working on it. And when they went bankrupt or whenever the bankruptcy papers filed, the team was kicked out. Everyone was working from home anyway, so they couldn't access the computer. So I never even got my stuff. And I'm like, and who do I do? Like, do I tweet The Rock and go, hey, I used to work for the Roughnecks. Can I have my stadium hits, please?
Hey, I don't know. I mean, he's very into his community or whatnot. You might reach out and be like, yes, brother, I'll get that to you.
Only if you deadlift 500 pounds, I'll give you the tape. And I'm like, sorry, bro, not at this age.
Yeah, and that's just freaking crazy. It's just like you found out via Twitter.
Yeah.
And it's just like how we do business nowadays, right? It's just
it is, man. It is. I empathize with athletes and celebrities, right? Like their business is out there before they even know, right? Like we've seen it how many times with trades that players find out on Twitter. We hear it with celebrities that they find out something's happening in their personal life on Twitter. So I empathize always. Like when that stories like that hit, we as sports radio hosts and podcast hosts, we kind of make fun of things, right? Yeah. I really like one thing I've learned from this last year from the pandemic is empathy, a lot more empathy, putting myself in other people's shoes, no matter how successful or rich they are. and try to understand like what it feels like going through it, because I've gone through some public stuff now with, me being let go, the station hiring new people and me finding out certain, like it's just, it sucks, right? So I've tried to have more empathy before I make jokes. Now I will still make jokes, okay,
Yeah.
but I will empathize first and try to like, not go too aggressive with my jokes. But yeah, it kind of sucked finding out on Twitter, man.
Yeah. So like myself, I mean, I am not a native Houstonian or Texan or whatever. I mean, is that
Mhm.
the same to say for you, or you just
No, I actually was born in Karachi, Pakistan, and my
word?
parents immigrated here like many immigrants trying to find a better life for their kids, right? Not even for them, for their kids. So my mom and dad, they're still alive. They got their COVID shots. What's up? They're vaccinated. So like it's a huge relief off of off of my heart, man. Like to know that they're safe now, because they're older, but they immigrated here and they had 3 kids at the time. We moved directly to Houston because my uncle lived here at the time. And then we had another sister. She was born, in 91. We call her Accident because she was, because let's be honest, like immigrant parents, man, they make the most accidents. Okay. But, we moved here. I grew up in Houston. I grew up in A-Leaf, and then we moved to Sugarland when I was in middle school or 5th grade, and then middle school. So I consider myself a Texan and a Houstonian, and it's crazy. Like I love my heritage. I love that I'm Pakistani. I love that I'm a Muslim, and I stress those things on social media. But when somebody asks me like, "Hey, where are you from?" I go, "I'm from Houston." And
Mhm.
like that's who I like. There's something about this place, man. You just gravitate towards it.
Yeah. In Houston, from what I've learned since I moved here, or whatever, this is, you know, you can tell that you weren't from here or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
like there's so many, ethnicities that are here in Houston and whatnot. It's just like nothing seems out of the norm to me anymore. Cause like
No, that's
I was at work and they had some Buddhists come up there. They had the whole freaking garb on and everything. And I
really.
never seen nothing like that in real life. And then after a while, I was just like, this is normal.
Yeah, it's normal, and that's the best part about Houston. Um, is that we have so many ethnicities, we have so many people from different backgrounds that we wouldn't get to meet in other cities,
Hmm.
right? Like, and not only meet in other cities, but grow up with them, right? Like
Yeah.
in my graduating class, we had everybody. With it wasn't just one race or one ethnicity or one religion. It was a melting pot. It was a true melting pot. And then when you drive around the city of Houston, you
Oh,
see
it
the
changed
same
real
thing.
quick.
Yeah, like isn't it wild? Like you can go to a Mexican restaurant and see everybody there. It's not
Mhm.
just people from a Latin background or a Mexican background. It's everybody. You same thing when you go to a Pakistani restaurant.
Mhm.
You go to one of my favorite restaurants, Aga's, and you'll see everybody there. It's not just Pakistanis, Indians. It's awesome. That's the great thing about our city, and that's why I think we have a different perspective on the world and problems as well, because I think we empathize a lot more than other cities or small towns might.
Mhm. Yeah, and then you talk about food, which is another one
Yeah,
of my favorite things and
it's the
whatnot. Because
best.
I moved here and I found out what a torta was, and I was
Woo!
like, oh boy,
It's a Mexican po' boy.
hell yeah! I was like, how did I live almost what on the 29th would be 39 years? How did I live 39 years without having this delicacy in my
But
life?
let's not sell Lake Charles short, okay? Because you guys, Lake Charles has Daryl's po' boys.
Yeah.
Woo, one of my favorite sandwiches now. Let's not, and then Mama's bread pudding. I don't know if you've ever
Oh.
been there.
Mhm.
I think that's like in downtown, but come on, Lake Charles, don't we're not gonna sell them short now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know. I mean, that's where I'm from, and I'm used to my own little circle of foods and
Yeah,
whatnot. But coming here is just like the palate is just like pow, it's just
yeah,
everywhere. Because we went to a movie theater, we went to one of the movie taverns or whatnot, and we got there early. And then right next there, tucked off in the corner, was a little Mexican spot, and I was just like, "Oh fuck it, just right here, let's go eat." So we sit
yeah.
up in there, and I'm looking at the menu, which is predominantly Spanish, and I'm just like, "All right, I know pollo is chicken." Uh, so I like, all right, let me get this. What's this torta? And the lady bring it out. She put it down. I was like, this look interesting. I take that first bite, and
Boom.
that was it. That was it.
Isn't it great,
I've
man? One
only
of my
had three, from three different places, and not now one of them disappointed me.
that's one of my favorite things to do is go to random taco trucks around the city. Like if I see one and I'm hungry, I'm going to that taco truck and I'm gonna get the tortillas. I love tortillas, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna get a corn tortilla beef taco. I'm gonna get a flour tortilla beef taco, and I'm gonna get a torta. And then I gotta get their salsas. I gotta get the red and the green. I go Christmas style, and that's how I judge them. I judge them off those three items, and I don't think I've had a bad taco yet or a bad torta. You're right. Like they're just so good. And I don't like you don't get that now. There might be a spot in Lake Charles, but you probably won't go to it, right? Like there's probably a place, but over here there's hundreds. It's so great. The food is great. I mean, just my personal experiences. My dad has a perfume and watch store on Harwin, and he's been there for almost 30 years, ever since we moved here. And I basically grew up with, a Latin influence because his workers, whoever he hired were usually Mexican, and they raised me, right? So like you get a total different influence that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. And that's one of the cool things. And that story is multiplied by, the millions of people that live here in Houston. It's just we have this great influence from other cultures and we embrace other cultures. And I think that gives us an empathy that nobody else has.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
First moving to Houston or coming into Houston or whatever. I'm sitting there in traffic of all things, something that was unaccustomed to me at the time. And I see the sign on the side of the road that said Houston City Limit, and it said population, 3 million something. I was like, yeah. It's like, how you even get that many numbers on the sign, And I was just like, really? I said, so this is why they put that sign right there to show me why I was sitting in traffic,
Yep. Now traffic is something we do really well as well. Like we're really good at that. And
yes. I-10 has been in construction since I was born.
Yeah, 290 will never get completed. It's just part of it, man. And you have to embrace the traffic, man. Find a good podcast, listen to your own podcast, recommend podcasts. That's what I just sit there and I'll listen to as many podcasts I can because I know traffic's going to happen. You're not going to beat traffic unless you're going to leave super early or super late. So you embrace it, you figure it out.
So, I mean, you're in the broadcasting and everything, but it sounds like you got a little bit of a sports background as well yourself. So is that kind of what drew you into the broadcasting or anything, or was it vice versa?
So it was actually in high school. I went to Clemens High School out in Sugar Land. So it's a very competitive high school. So we have something called the top 10% rule here at the time. It's the top 6 now. But basically, if you're in the top 10%, you can go to University of Texas. You can go to Texas A&M. They don't even care about your SAT scores. You get in. It was impossible to crack the top 10% in my school. Like it was that, like I was in the 30th percentile, right? And I was, I was like, I was okay in high school. I was like, whatever. Like I wasn't an A student, but I wasn't I wasn't like a C student or anything. And when I started thinking about like, what do I want to do? Right. So I started thinking like, okay, well, my brother is a dentist or he's going to dental school and he went to the University of Texas. So maybe I'll just do that because he's doing it. He'll walk me through it. So I actually went and that was my major going into my freshman year. And I grew up playing sports. The way I assimilated with the culture in America was through basketball. Like I love basketball. That's how I met people. That's how I met different people, right? Like I became best friends with people that I have no way I was going to become best friends with any other way than through sports. So I've always loved sports. And then I went into this interview for a scholarship and they're like, so what do you want to do? Why should we give you money? And I said, well, I want to be a dentist because my brother's a dentist. And I literally said that. And they're like, and they actually, and like this was a community scholarship. So they knew me. They're like, that's not what you want to do. Like, what do you really want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I want to cover sports, like I want to do something in sports. That's what I really want to do. But I probably won't, like, I don't know what to do with that. So they're like, why don't you go do that? Like go do it, go figure that out. So I did that. So I was like, all right, let me learn about this. I went to, I was at UTSA because I didn't get into University of Texas. And I was there for my freshman year. I started researching, like, how do I become a sports radio host? Because I love listening to sports radio. I love Jim Rome. I love John and Lance in the morning. I used to listen to them when I was going to high school. Uh, and I was like, I want to do that. Like, how can I do that? Or how can I be on TV? How can I talk about sports on TV? Right.
Mhm.
And I started researching it, and the University of Texas had one of the best programs. So that's where I was going to go my sophomore year, because that's where I wanted to go. There was no doubt I was going to University of Texas, but because I didn't get in the freshman year, so I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to apply for the broadcast journalism program and then just do the sports thing, right? I got in luckily, and I always focused on sports. I worked at the student radio station doing a sports show. I did their TV station doing sports, and I just like did as much as I could with internships at sports stations, and never took a semester off. And that's what I wanted to do, man. I was like, I love sports. I love basketball, and I want to talk about it for a living. So I got lucky, man. I caught a few breaks, and here we are.
Word. Shit. I mean, what was your nickname on the court? Because I played a little bit of sports in my day or whatever. We all acquired nicknames. I daggone, since my last name is Robinson, you know, they always made those comparisons or whatever, but it was more of a Rodman thing to me, because all I like to do is rebound and get the
Yeah.
ball out or whatever. I didn't want to shoot or nothing like that. But what did they call you? What was your claim to fame on the court or on the field and
So
whatnot?
it depends. Okay. It depends on where, it depends on what phase. Okay. So I'm 36 years old now, almost 36. I'm turning 36 next month. Right. So look, you're a little bit older than me, like you get a little bit slower. You got to adjust your game a little bit. But in high school, I was really quick. I mean, like I was fast. Right. So they would call me too quick. And Allen Iverson was my guy. Like I always modeled my game after Allen Iverson, the toughest guy on the court and scrappy guy and all that stuff. So it was always too quick. Then as I got older, like in college, I like really started developing my game a little bit. And, I never played college ball or anything like that after high school. I just, played a lot of pickup ball. Like I was literally at Gregory Gym, which is a big student gym there, every night, pretty much every night. The only night I would not go was Friday night, because I had to go to Friday night prayer. And then usually after Friday night prayer, we go play pickup football, like tackle football, right? Instead. So I love sports, right? So at that time, like it was Kobe. Like I would just model my game after Kobe, like unstoppable. I'm dropping 81 on you. You're going to have to clothesline me to stop me like Raja Bell did. But then, like that was my college phase. But then as I've gotten older now, a lot of the kids that I play with, they're a little bit younger. So they'll call me CP3 because I'm the older, like I'm going to pick them apart a little bit. I play a little defense and I'll get the assist. So it just depends on the different phases, man. But to me, it's always about just the competitiveness, right? Like it's so much fun to test your game against somebody else's, and you might come out on top, you might lose, but like it gives you something to work on. And that's always been my favorite part of it. But yeah, it was always something quick related or point guard related, because that's what I'm not a big guy by any means, but yeah, like hey, I will score on you.
So coming up in Houston and everything, I think what has been what not what has been, but what is your favorite aspect of Houston?
Um, Man, it's the cultures. It's all the different cultures, the different people. Everything about this city is a great and unique experience that we wouldn't get in other places. Like there's other big cities, right? New York, of course, is huge, Chicago. But from my experience at LA, my experience from all those cities and like family that lives there, people tend to stay in their bubbles a lot more, right? They tend to go to work, come home, that's it. And there's not much of a melting pot. Even though the cultures are there and you can experience them, we just don't blend. In Houston, we blend. Like that's the best part. We're actually blending. We're actually becoming friends with each other. It's not just you go to work, go home, and that's it. No, you're talking to your neighbors, because there's still that southern charm of the city, which is kind of cool. But like I'm thinking about my neighbors. I mean, we have like we're friends with 5 different families. Everyone's different, and our kids get to grow up with different personalities and different cultures, different ethnicities, different religions. We learn about each other's religions and what, what this means and what that means, instead of, oh, they just do that and they're wrong. Like it's not like that. And it's beautiful to see, man. I think it's something that I think I took for granted for sure growing up. But now when I look back at it, and now like me having a daughter, I go, man, this is beautiful. This is something that I want her to experience as well, because she gets to grow up with so many different people in her lives,
Mhm.
in her life, excuse me.
Yeah, I think a thing for me when we moved here for my son, um, I was like, dude, I don't push you to do a lot of things. He's like, it's if they had showed an interest in sports or anything like that, I was all there, I was all up on it or whatever, but I would never push them toward it unless they really had a genuine interest for it. But there was only one thing that I tried to push on to my son when we first moved here. I was like, dude, you're gonna take Spanish.
Yep.
Because I don't know how long we're going to be here, but as long as we're going to be here, I might need somebody to translate for me and everything. And you got to do it. So I had him take like 2-3 years of Spanish since we've been here.
How old is he?
18. He graduated this year.
Oh, that's awesome. That's beautiful, man. I think in Houston, any Houston school, like you have to take Spanish pretty much as your foreign language, right? You have an option to take some other ones, but Spanish by far is the most useful one,
Mhm.
right? Because of where we live and what that could mean for future job opportunities, right? Like to be able to understand Spanish and speak even the smallest amount is important.
Mhm.
And then in college, you have to take some foreign languages as well. So you just end up taking Spanish. I took from my sophomore year in high school to when I graduated, probably 5 years of Spanish, and I understand it, but I can't speak a
I
lick
was
of
about to
it.
say,
Like,
how much did you
yeah, like I
retain?
can understand you a little bit. Like, one of my best friends is David Nuno, who does sports on ABC 13. He speaks fluent Spanish. Like he's a Cuban, right? So he speaks Spanish. He'll listen to Bad Bunny and J Balvin and all these guys, and I listen to it out of respect for one of my best friends. And I'm just like every 30 seconds, Rob, I'm like, yo, I need to Google the lyric. I don't know what they're saying.
It was funny because, like I told you, when I was on the way home or whatever, and you speak about Bad Bunny or whatnot, and Booker T pop up
Yeah.
on my playlist or whatever because I seen the video and I knew who he was talking about. So I just like, all right, I'll download it. And the beat kind of funky or whatnot. So I
Yeah.
mean, I can kind of vibe with it a little bit, but I'm sitting there picking different words out with the limited Spanish that I do know because,
Yeah, you gotta
like
take
you
the
said,
little one, context clues, right? And we'll kind of figure it out from there. But
yeah.
that's the look. It's good beats, it's good
Mhm.
production value. I can appreciate it.
And it's Booker T.
Yeah,
Because I was sitting there and you talk about just knowing the nuances and everything like that. It's just I work at a place to where that's who I deal with on the daily. So I know enough Spanish to get me by at work. But if you drop me off somewhere, I mean, I think the only thing I could probably get to is the tortas or whatever. But
yeah. That's the same thing. I grew up like I had to work at my dad's store, right? Because my dad was, he's like, I'm not giving you free money. You better work for your allowance. So I worked every weekend, and I worked with, again, it was a Mexican lady, and she would help me a little bit when we had, Spanish speaking customers. But for the most part, she was like, I'm gonna teach you once, and then you got to figure it out. Like the street Spanish, you got to figure out on your own, and you get by at work. But then you're right. Like when I go to a restaurant now, I'm like, yes, I'll take the tortas, please. And so, like I know how to say tortas. I could say that, but you turn into like, I don't want to offend you, or
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
want to like take your culture and appropriate it. So you kind of like white it up, right? Like
Yeah.
quote unquote, white it up.
Tortas, please.
Yeah, tortas, please. I'll take some tacos.
Yeah, because what was it? And then another thing you talk about the culture and everything. I thought it was kind of weird at first because my daughter, she 10, and she looking at anime and stuff, and we all used the Duolingo app to kind of learn our languages or whatnot. And she picked up Japanese. So I'm
Wow.
like, if we were anywhere else, especially like if we was back in Lake Charles or something like that, this would be null and void or whatnot. But since we're here in Houston, I said this has some validity to it or whatnot. She
Yeah.
could probably use this somewhere.
And the cool thing is like you can take her places where there's actually, Japanese speaking people. Like you can take her to a restaurant, you can take her to a museum, you can take her somewhere. Like you wouldn't get that in other places. And they'd be so welcome about it. Like, yeah, come on in. We'll teach you. We'll, like talk to us. Right. So it's so cool that we can do that.
Yeah, because like I can remember being younger and trying to get into like Dragon Ball Z and other types of anime and everything. And they would have see, I've learned through life that I like a lot of things
Hmm.
until I meet somebody who love the things that I like. Because
Yeah.
wrestling, I always said, I'm a lifelong fan. I grew up, I love this thing. But until I met someone who actually loves wrestling, I
Yeah.
realized that I like wrestling. So
Yo, there's people that go hardcore at everything, right? Like I love basketball. I'm watching the Kings and the Cavs play. I don't care. Like I love basketball, but that's my thing. But then I'm like you, I like a lot of things. Like that's not my whole life, but I do like a lot of things. Like I'm sure you have something that you just love, and the outside, like the person next to you is like, oh, I kind of just like that. And
yeah.
Rob loves that.
Mhm. And it's just because it would be like go back to like the anime and all that stuff. I was just like, oh man, that's cool. I seen that. And they'll be sitting there doing the hand joint and they're speaking the language and they quoting words in in Japanese and shit. I'm just like, yeah, you really like this.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Uh,
you would have loved this, you know. But so I mean, is sports that thing for you? That thing that you love?
I love it. I love it. I still like if I don't play basketball, I don't see my friends, right? Like it's my way again to meet my friends. It's how I assimilated within the American culture is through sports, whether it be basketball, baseball, football in middle school and high school. That's how I made friends. That's how I learned about my culture that is now my culture, right? Like this is my culture. That's why I always go back to it. Like I during the pandemic, it was tough, man. Like we started in March, I didn't play hoops. I didn't see my buddies right till way later on. Like
Just
I
sitting
think
in
it was
just sitting in
yeah.
the corner in your office, like,
I'm not even joking. Yo, I'll show you. I have videos of the home court app. So I found this app that you can dribble. You put your phone up and like it's a virtual reality app. Like you have to like score points dribbling. So
oh,
I would do that literally for hours, dude, every week because I was like I miss basketball so much. It got to the point where my neighbor Chris, he has a basketball hoop for his son. So I was like, yo, can we just move this onto the street on Memorial Day and can we just play some pickup hoops? And we just got random people from our street and we just started playing games. And it was just like, oh man. And like that one game led to my friendship with my neighbor Chris and my neighbor Sean, like going to the next level, right? Because you learn so much about people when you play sports.
mhm.
You see who they really are. Like, are they gonna grind it out? Are they gonna quit? Are they gonna make excuses? Are they gonna, be the best teammate? Are they gonna be the worst defensive guy? So you learn about people and you go, oh, I like this guy. I like the way he plays. I like what he stands for. So to me, it has been sports because that's my bet. Like that's the only way I learned about the culture. And then secondly, it was the best way to learn about people that you can't get through anywhere else,
Well,
right? Like it's just the best.
well, you got lucky because like I've only bonded with my neighbors in tragedy.
Oh no.
Because damn, what we had the little ice apocalypse not too long ago,
Yeah.
and whatnot. So we had some pipe issues and whatnot. So me and my neighbor was out there, checking on pipes and everything. I was like, hey man, your stuff messed up. He's like, yeah man. What
Yeah.
about you? And we kind of bonding over, just hardships and stuff.
Yeah, but that's how it usually starts. Like my neighbor Chris, who's I'm really good friends with now, he the way I met him was like we'd always see each other, right? Like when he would drive home, and we live on a cul-de-sac street, so you know who lives on your street for the most part, right? And my wife and I are very active in that, like we're working out, our garage is always open, we're always out there, so we see all the neighbors, we wave at them and whatnot. But it was actually during Hurricane Harvey, which were you here for that? No,
Oh yeah, I was
you
there.
were, right? I
I
mean, you remember how tragic it was. It was wild, right? So
I,
our
I
our
tell you,
neighborhood,
I
yeah.
tell
Tell me.
I tell you what though, it's like that whole I was here for that whole little loop and everything because I got here and the Astros won the freaking World Series and whatnot. I
Yep.
was like, yeah, man, I just got here and they won the World Series and it looked like the Rockets was gonna win the championship. I was like, yeah, man, I'm a good luck charm. Then
Yeah,
Harvey
it's
hit.
all good. And
As it
then
then
it's like,
Harvey hit, and
ugh.
I was like, oh, ooh, maybe I'm not.
No. So when Harvey hit, our street was like demolished, right? So like we had to evacuate. I don't know how, man. I think the stars and God and everybody, good karma, all that. we got zero damage on our house, right? Like all the houses were fine, but the water was up. Like we got lucky, right? But we had to evacuate right on, it was Sunday. We had to evacuate. And Chris, that's how I met him. Like we sat on the same boat leaving and we became friends. Like I got his number. I was like, hey, I'll be checking up on the houses. And he's like, yeah, I'll be checking it too. If you see anything or if you get back first, let me know. So that's how we became friends. And ever since then, it's just slowly gotten bigger and better. So like that's how you meet your neighbors sometimes. It's through tragedy, man, because and then it bonds you for life.
Yeah. Another tragedy incident or whatever. I had a friend from the aforementioned Lake Charles come up here to Houston to visit. And we all just jumped in my truck because we was gonna run around the corner, go to the store, get something to eat, and come back. So I told him to move his vehicle out the driveway and park it over here on the curb in front of the house because my wife is gonna be coming home. I didn't want to be blocking the driveway. So his country self rolled up on the curb into the grass, and unbeknownst to us, he ran over the water meter.
Oh no.
So he parked, we left, and we get some EV tea and having a good time and whatnot. Then we come back and riding down the block, going back to the house, see water coming down the street. Now I've seen this before, and I was just like, oh man, did I turn the pool? Because we got a pool in the back and we got to manually fill it, with a hose. And I have overfilled my pool quite a few times. So I seen this water trickling down the street, down the curb, and I was like, oh shit, did I turn the pool on? Did I forget something? And we roll up to the house, and the neighbor coming out the garage is like, hey, what's up, guys? What's going on? And we looking at his truck, and from under the truck, just water is just coming out of the meter, the hole and everything. So I was like, what the hell, man? And he back out, and sure enough, he ran over the casing that houses the water line.
Yeah.
And it just pushed the case down over the pipes and severed them shits. So
oh damn,
it was a bad thing. But luckily, and there's a luckily to this, my friend, both of the guys that came to visit me, they just so happened to work in that field. So he worked for the city for 7 years, replacing and fixing pipes for the city. And then my other guy works with a dude that we graduated with who has a plumbing business. So he's been fixing pipes and working pipes. So
you're golden.
As soon as they pull the truck out, they assess the damage. Like, all right, we need a shovel. I need some tape. And we just picking up and everything. He's like, all right, I need this and this and this, and I can fix this. So by the time we done dug up all the housing and everything, they assessed the damage, and we was about to start actually putting pipe and everything down and fix it. The city pulled up and they took care of it. But had they not shown up, we would have fixed it ourselves.
We would have fixed it. We would have fixed it. That's what I'm talking about.
Now,
I love
had it
that.
been anybody else other than those two people, we would have had a problem because me and my neighbor was sitting there like, "What's up, man?"
That's a valuable life lesson we learned during the ice apocalypse. Like I had no idea going into it that if your house loses power, we didn't lose power, luckily, but for like a few hours, right? Like we were good, but some people were out without power for days, right? Like I didn't even think about that. Like, okay, if your house doesn't have heat, your pipes are going to freeze everywhere. Like you're screwed. So now I know, like, hey, okay, if we ever lose power during a cold snap, I know what to do. Go turn off the main water line, drain your pipes, and just wait. Just wait until it thaws out, right? I didn't know that, but I know it now. Unfortunately, it came at the expense of like so much damage and so much heartbreak and heartache. But I guess you live and you learn.
Yeah, because to touch back on the Harvey thing or whatnot, it was a substantial amount of luck because the place that we were living in at the time, it rested on a hill. So I say about 100 or so yards away from us was downhill. So no shit, just everything 100 yards and away from us was underwater. Just, I mean, up there, like to how you're saying, people needed boats and stuff to get out of there. It's like, if you ever been to a crosswalk and the little sign that had the little hand and the people on there telling you when to go and to stop, the water was up past that.
Wow.
Just 100 yards away from my front door.
Wow. That's same thing, man. Our neighborhood got lucky or our street specifically got lucky because we don't know who the builder was, who the guy, the architect, whoever, but all of our houses were built on just a slightly higher incline than a lot of the other neighborhoods around us. And we didn't get any house damage. Our street was, I mean, it was bad, right? But because our houses were built on just that slightest incline, we were good. We got through it. And it's just sometimes you just catch a lucky break, man.
And that was like a big scary thing for us as well, because the place that happened in, we were renting.
Oh
So
man.
when it was time to get our own place, where we living at now, that was the first thing we was looking at. All right, how was this during the flood?
Yeah.
Just, is it on a hill? Is it on where are we? So I mean, we had to do a lot of surveying and everything, but
Yep.
luckily, with the weather as it has been so far, we haven't had any of those issues. I mean, even when it was a real bad flood around here, I mean, the water never really got higher than the curb and whatnot. So I'm glad about that.
Yeah, you just get lucky. You do as much as you can to prepare, man, and there's hope for the best, man. That's all you can do now.
Hell yeah, and especially I became a little bit of a handyman during the pandemic or whatever.
Oh yeah,
This room you see here, I built it myself
nice.
because me and my wife got in an argument because we was in the house together too much, because we couldn't go nowhere. So I was
Yep.
just like, I ain't got nowhere to go, so I'm gonna just go build something in the garage, and here we are.
That's great, man. That's one of the silver linings from something that is so tragic, so heartbreaking. Again, I mean, we lost so many lives, right? And I think everyone's personally been impacted on some level, but you get the family time. I think it's changing the way people work, by the way, and
Oh,
operate, right? Like I know plenty of people that they're like, you know what, I'm good, like I don't need to grind out 60-hour weeks. Like I really enjoy being home. I
mhm.
enjoy the luxury of working from home. I enjoy seeing my kids, picking them up from school, seeing my wife, right? Like it's great to have that balance lean the other way, because normally before the pandemic, the work life balance always shifted to the work side,
Mhm.
right? Never to the life side, right? It was always that's when that conversation would start is, hey, you need more work life balance because you're shifting to the work side. And now it's like people are like, hey, we're shifting to the right side and I don't want to shift back to the work side.
Yeah.
Nobody ever says like, hey, your life work balance is off. That's a great thing. If you can somehow manage it where you can be at home, work on projects, even though you're, like I'm with you, my wife and I, we need a break from each other. You go to one side of the house, I'll go to my side, and that's it. I'm like you. I actually built a music room where like I started I got my vinyl player and I found some old speakers. I hunted them down and built it up, and I have my little space as well. Like it's great. But now you can just get out and guess what? Your family's there,
Mhm.
right? You don't have to drive home and you don't have to be grinding it out 60-hour weeks. This is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So, we're starting to slowly get back into, the swing of things. Places are opening back up. And I know as of the 10th of March, Texas is like, yeah, kick the door open. You can go and do what you want now
Yep.
or whatever for the most part. But when we were in the thick of things, being locked down and stuck in the house, what was one of the other than sports, what was something that you missed doing, just going out and going doing?
Dude, I missed going to the gym, going to see my friends and play hoops. I missed hot food. This is an odd one. Yeah, like everyone makes fun of me about this. So one of my pet peeves is cold food. Like if I go to a restaurant, I want hot food. And that's something I learned. So
Yeah,
I
because
used
you're
to
going to
work.
the source or whatever.
Yeah, like I want hot food, right? Like one of the things. So I worked at Landry's Incorporated, which is, they own all the big restaurants, Tillman Fertitta. If you know the Houston Rockets, the owner, he wasn't the owner at the time of the Houston Rockets, or the governor, excuse me, because they're called governors in the NBA now. But I worked there in their marketing department doing some social media, and we would have this huge work conference once a year. And one of the things he would always say is, make sure hot plates are hot, cold plates are cold, right? So like your salad plates are cold, hot plates are hot. And I've always like that detail has stuck out to me. Like that's a billionaire detail, right? Like when that's how you become a billionaire, because you focus on something that tiny. And I've always had this thing about, I always want hot food. If I'm going to a restaurant, I want hot food. But with the pandemic, right, there was no, you can't sit inside, right? So
Yeah.
you'd have to go pick up food, drive back 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You know, if you're going to a restaurant that you liked in the city, even if I was going down to the Whataburger, by the time I got home, my food it's not hot, it's lukewarm.
Yeah.
And I missed it so much, man. I missed just hot food. I hated microwaving my food.
Oh yeah,
It's
because a
such like a
torta.
1% thing to say. I hate saying it, but I just missed it. That was one of my things.
Yeah, because a torta gets soggy as hell if you don't eat
Yeah.
anything hot. And I'm like,
I want a
oh,
hot, I want a hot torta. I want a hot like taco. Like I luckily I have a taco truck that's like 4 minutes away. So that's okay. Anything over 5 minutes, I'm out. Like I need to eat it there.
yeah. I was trying to devise different strategies to keep the food warm or whatever. I would turn
Mm-hmm.
the heat up on the windshield and just put the food up there and try to keep it hot. And I was like, we gonna make it. But I think for me, because what 2019, I just started going out to do conventions and comic cons and all kind of things like that for, for the podcast.
It's cool.
So I had 2020 lined up. I planned on like traveling and going to see all my other podcasting buddies because that was a thing that I was getting into, just like friendships that I've made through this podcast. I went to MetLife Stadium for their last live WrestleMania. I
Yeah.
was there for that, and because of podcasting, I was able to. I never knew that I would meet that many people that lived out in that region of the world or whatnot. I was able to go do some live shows, hang out with people that I met on the internet, which is scary to say many years later after your parents be like, don't talk to strangers and all kind of stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it was just an amazing thing for me. And I really, really enjoyed that. And I wanted more of it. So 2020, I had it all planned out. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to New Jersey. I'm gonna go to Cali. I'm going here. I'm going there. I put a budget aside for it and whatnot. And then old Corona came around. Was like, hey, brother,
That was
I
it's so
need to
weird.
sit down for a second.
I feel you, man. Like those big events, man, like meeting people at them and buddies from the internet. Like I it's strange. Now I think about it, I'm like, do I really want to go to WrestleMania? Like if there's 100,000 people, and look, we're at some point we're gonna have to get back to normal, right? Like I empathize with everything.
The
I
new normal.
understand, but at some point, like you and I were talking about, getting the vaccine. I'll be fully vaccinated next week. We actually just got back from Corpus Christi. We did a little spring break getaway, and we sat at a restaurant that was 100% capacity, and it felt really strange. It felt
I
really weird.
know.
Like every table is full, right? And we know we're more than likely safe. Like in our heart of hearts, we feel like we're okay, right? We're healthy. We've got the vaccine. We feel okay, but still, don't you like? I
Yeah.
feel it. Like I
I
just
can't
feel
go
kind of
back
weird.
now.
Yeah, like isn't it? I don't know. It's like
Because
we're gonna have to eventually.
because this is the realization that I came to a couple days ago. If you follow me on Instagram or whatever, I'm an avid Walmart goer or whatnot. So this has kind of had somewhat of an impact on me because I couldn't go to Walmart like I wanted
Mhm.
to. But this is where you know this past year you look at things so differently now. Because I always had this thing when I go to grocery stores or anything anyway, that if they got open freaking vegetation out there, like grapes, apples, and all kind of stuff like that, I usually get one of the plastic bags, put it over my hand, and then I pick through it that way
Mhm.
because I'm touching on something that somebody else is probably going to touch on, and so on and so forth. So that's how I did before this pandemic thing happened. And now, knowing what we know, I went into Walmart a couple days ago and I'm walking down the aisles. And this is after the 10th, after they was like, yeah, open it all up, do what you want. There is a lady, grown lady, with her child, had to be her child because it looked just like her, or younger sibling. And they're in the towel aisle where the towels are, and they're holding all the towels and they're rubbing their face on it. And it's like,
Uh,
this one feels nice. And I'm like, what are you doing?
oh
Did you
no.
just forget that quick? And I'm just like, I'm having my card on, I got my mask, and I'm just like,
Were they wearing a mask at least?
no.
Of course they weren't. Of course
And
they
I'm just
weren't.
like, what are you doing? And then a couple of aisles over is just dude coughing into his hand and looking at some other stuff. And I'm just like, Oh no.
Yeah. See, yeah, that stuff like that. It's just like basic human decency, right? Like be decent humans. Don't do that. Even before a pandemic, don't rub your face all over the towels, right? Like somebody else might buy that. And this is why we wash everything before we wear it, because you just don't know. Because
Yeah. I have
somebody
towels
tried
in
on
the
those
washing machine
pants.
right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Like, somebody tried those pants on with no underwear. So you've got their junk stink on it. You just know they did. So wash your pants before you wear them.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you buy them online, then you're safe.
Yeah, I don't even try them on anymore. It's just like I do the old school joint. I just put them up against my hip. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, it's long enough. I hope it worked.
If they fit, they fit. If they don't, we're returning them, and then somebody else will have to deal with it. But yeah, I am like, it's weird going around now, and like I know there was a part of me that wanted to go to Mania this year,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not ready to go to that big of a crowd yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not ready. I know it'll be safe, but I'm just not ready. Like even with the SaberCats game, like when I'm out there, they're at 50% capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And there's about 2,000 people there for the home opener. It was a nice turnout. And I think I got like personally close to people. I got close to like 8 people because everybody kept their distance. Even, we have like participants for kicking games and different things. Even those people, like I would hold my mic out, right? So like I'm not getting too close to them. So even though there's 2,000 people and it's an outdoor stadium, I wasn't comfortable going into the crowd section. I told them, I was like, I'm not going into the crowd stuff. I'm not doing that. Like, I'll stay on the field. You can bring people to me. We'll have a great time. We'll talk, have all that. But I'm just not ready to be there yet, like within that many people.
I'm just I subconsciously back away from people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you can tell the people that were chomping at the bit to pull that wrap off their face and whatnot, because it showed. Like I said, I frequent my Walmarts and everything, and it's just like it's those type of people just sitting there with the boots on, and I ain't gonna get into too many other stereotypes or whatever, and they just daggone rooting and tooting, just walking around there like nothing was happening over the past year or whatever. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, and that's why you just keep your mask on, and hopefully that transmission rate, if they do have it, you luckily don't get it, but it's crazy, man. The lack of human decency throughout the whole thing. Like that's another thing I learned in the last year is that for the most part, a lot of people are not decent human beings.
No,
they might be decent self beings, but they're not decent human beings. Like they're not about the greater good, and they don't keep the greater good in mind. Do we all get selfish from time to time? Yes. Like I cracked at certain times during the pandemic where I told my wife, I was like, I don't care. We're going to the beach and we're going to park next to people. I'm not going to wear a mask because we're at the beach. And I'm sorry, we're doing it. Like that's what we're going to go have fun. Like it's okay to have fun during this. But I would never go to an HEB or Walmart or anywhere and not wear a mask or purposely get close to somebody or purposely put somebody in a position that is they're working and interacting with people for a living, like make them feel uncomfortable. Like that's just a decent thing to do. Don't do that.
Hello.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, bien.
Oh.
Night.
Night.
Good night. Love it. Saints jersey on. I love that.
Yes.
You got to rep.
Hell yeah. But it's like I knew it was her because I heard the door open on the other side. It's about that time. Take a nap.
Are they still in spring break or are they back to school?
They back in school now.
Okay, good.
This is the last round for the boy or whatever. I'm just like, dude, just get these grades.
Yes.
And get the hell out of my house.
Yeah, it's been tough for high schoolers, man. I can't even imagine. That's one of the bad things from this is like they miss out on a year. They're not getting the same education. I'm sorry. Like I did the whole online school with my daughter. She's in kindergarten. She's back in school now. But we have friends that have high schoolers and just talking to them, it's not fair. It sucks. And I think it's going to impact their life, right? Like in a positive way and a negative way. You learn about yourself a lot. It's a lot like college though. It's like, hey, you're on your own schedule pretty much.
Here,
Yeah,
make it
like you're an
happen.
adult now. Like that was a wake up call for me when going from high school to college was like, wait, nobody's telling me what to do. Oh, I have to do shit on my own now. That's a lot like what they're doing with online schools. Like, hey, you got classes, but make sure you do this homework assignment. We're not doing it for you. We're not going to remind you. Turn it in on whatever, app you're using.
Mhm.
So that's a positive, but the negative is like you miss your friends.
Yeah.
Like we're
And
grown ass adults who miss friends. I
like,
wonder what they're going through.
well, for me, like this whole thing or whatever is just like, for me personally, I was like, I don't mind going home because like this is where all my things are.
Mhm.
This is where the shit that I enjoy is at my house. So I mean, send me home, please.
Yes.
But like you're right. But for them, they've been cooped up in here since last school year and
Man.
whatnot. And, the boy, I'm not so much worried about, but for her, she in the fifth freaking grade or whatever. She needs that social interaction and
Yeah.
whatnot. And it's even harder, with the little kids running around in this neighborhood because not so many of them are going out. So there's nothing for that here. But the boy, I'm just like, dude, I mean, it's whatever
Yeah.
for you, man. I just want you to, because it actually benefited him,
Good.
because
Really.
like if when he was at school, it was more distractions because he wanted to be messing around with everybody and doing everything else and not
Oh.
doing the work. But now he don't have those distractions. All he has is the work. He's doing a
Mhm.
lot better at home than he would be doing at school. But it affects people differently. But for me personally, I'm just like, send me home.
Yeah. Like
I
what?
go to
Speaking
work
of,
sometimes. It'd be like too many people here. I'd be like, I'd be the first one to be like, all right, I'm going home. It's like,
dude, I'm
ah,
it's hard, man. Like I'm with you. I like I'm, I got let go during the pandemic from ESPN Houston. I lost 2 jobs during the pandemic, which
shit.
sucks. But we're in a good place now. Everything's fine. But I am so selective on what I do now. Like the projects that I take on, I'm like, do I have to go into an office? Can I do everything from my computer at home in my little space that I've set up in my room? Can I do it from there? Because if yes, I'm more likely to do that project than going in every single day, working, dealing with people.
Well, I'm glad I didn't ask you to come over here.
Yeah. If you emailed me and said, hey, you want to come to the house? I'd be like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm not coming there. That's why I asked you that. I actually did ask you, hey, everything's virtual, right? Because
Yes.
I will gladly do a podcast virtually. I love supporting the arts, right? I'm all about it. But if you ask me to show up somewhere, we got a problem. I'm just not doing it.
Well, shit. I mean, shit. Before the pandemic, it was the same thing because I was
Yeah.
like, I know how it is driving in damn Houston or whatnot. I
Mm-hmm.
have a brother that lives here, and we barely see each other because it takes me a damn near hour to drive to his house.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. That's gonna be a lasting impact from this is will people not unemployed, and this is another problem people are having, business owners, is they can't find enough employees. Like talking to people in Corpus Christi, they couldn't find enough employees. Like they're ready to open up 100% at restaurants, but they can't find employees because employees don't want to get back to work in person. What they might be collecting unemployment, which is,
Mhm.
like is enough, right? Like to get by and all that stuff. They're used to a different lifestyle now. That's going to be one of the lasting impacts from this is, are people going to be like, yeah, you know what? I want to go work in an office, or I want to go work at a restaurant or somewhere in person, or do I want to do something I can do it from my home and not spend 2 hours of my life in traffic?
Yeah, that commute life ain't about that.
It's bullshit. Yeah, it sucks. It's you can make do, you can make it work, but man, that's 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week of your life that you miss out on because you're sitting in a car.
Mhm. That's how
Right.
I
And
listen to most of my
yeah,
podcasts.
like we make the best of it, but we miss out on valuable time. That's another thing we've learned is like, hey, their time is, it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed, right? Like tomorrow's not guaranteed. It was a horrible reminder for a lot of people, but it's true. You're not guaranteed. You might die tomorrow, whether it be an accident, COVID, whatever it is. So all the time that we have together, let's spend it wisely.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got to talking about WrestleMania or whatever. I mean, I was right there in the boat with you because before this thing went down, it was another instance to where I had the tickets to Raymond James Stadium already. I had the hotel picked out and whatnot. And COVID, he came in the room, he put his hand on my shoulder, he's like, "Hey, brother, I don't think this happening this year." I was like, "Oh, All right, I understand.
Did
So
you go to Rumble when it was here?
yes, that was
The day Kobe died.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, and it was weird too because damn, you talk about the Twitter being the source of all news before people even know about it. That was pretty shitty to have
Yeah.
his family find out about that before they can even freaking verify it and make sure it was legit. But
Well,
goddamn,
shit. I mean, Rick Fox's family thought he was dead because of Twitter. Remember, like Rick
yeah,
Fox's whole family thought he died in that helicopter. And we find out later, no. And then there was initial reports that his whole family had that. Kobe and the
yeah,
entire family was wiped. And then we found out, no, it was just GG, rest in peace to everyone on the helicopter.
yeah,
But yeah, that is one of the bad parts about Twitter was like, hey, can we just take a deep breath and not just post everything we heard? Like, can we wait until we heard the official word?
yeah,
Right. So yeah, that was another one. But yeah, Rumble was like the last. So I remember Rumble. My last few events before everything shut down, like normal events, was Rumble. Then we had then I went to the Houston rodeo to watch Chance the Rapper. And that's when like pandemic was on. Like people are like, hey, this thing is real. Then we had the Roughnecks game where I'm crowd surfing
yeah.
days before the pandemic, which was not a smart move. But those three, I'll like that lineup I'll never forget is like, man, will I ever do that again? I'm sure I will. Once everyone's vaccinated, you feel more comfortable and you have to return to normal again. That's something that I'm starting to say a lot more and like so I can get used to it. But it's wild to think about that, man.
Yeah, that was just within a couple of days each other because I was there I was in there in the Astro, the Minute Maid Park, just
Mm-hmm.
watching everything shoulder to shoulder with everybody, just yelling
Yep.
and screaming and whatnot. And in retrospect, that's like, oh man, that's kind of scary to think about.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, that just that crowd, that noise, that atmosphere was freaking amazing.
There's so much when Edge came out. Oh man, that
Oh,
was dude, we were freaking out. We were freaking and like I went with all my buddies that love wrestling and we don't watch as much. I'll be frank with you, but I do watch like I'll watch Rumble. I'll get into it and then I'll watch a few, Raw episodes, SmackDown, and keep up kinda. And then of course it culminates with Mania, which is great. But just like being there and when that music hit, I was like, oh my God, he's back.
I was excited about that, but the whole thing for me was when MVP came out because I was like, I really wasn't expecting that, and that's like one of
Yeah.
my top favorite freaking professional wrestlers, and I was like, he's there, and I was like, oh, and he had the Wakanda gear on.
Oh
Like,
man.
it was
He
freaking
was awesome.
amazing.
He's such a nice person too.
You say that like you talked to him.
I've interviewed him before. I've been lucky enough to interview a few of the WWE superstars in my time in radio and TV. And by far, they're all some of the nicest athletes and people I've ever met. Like, I'll give you a few stories. I'll just rapid fire through them. So when I first started in radio in 2007 at 1560 The Game, there was a writer, and he's still a writer here, Ken Hoffman. He was with the Houston Chronicle at the time, and he's one of like the mainstream writers that always took the time to write about wrestling, whether it be the what happens at the Humble Bingo Arena, right, or Bingo Hall, like that kind of TSW wrestling to WWE. But he always cared about it. And like we still text each other about wrestling stuff, right? So Mania was coming here at NRG or Reliance Stadium at the time in 2008 or 2009, roughly one of those years.
Yeah.
So to lead up to WrestleMania, WWE was like, hey, Ken, why don't you come on out to Laredo, Texas? We have a house show and you can interview a bunch of the superstars that are there. And we're like, cool. So we road trip down to Laredo, Texas for a WWE Saturday night house show. And Beth Phoenix was there. Santino Marella was there. Edge was there. And we spent an hour just talking to Edge. MVP was there actually that night. And we spent 30 minutes talking to him. Beth Phoenix, 30 minutes, just like hanging out, talking to him. And they are the most down-to-earth people, man. Like they understand and they get a view of the world that we don't because they're traveling, they're meeting a lot of people, they're going through the most stressful industry, right? Where one day Vince could wake up and be like, hey, you know what? You're not the champ anymore.
He's like,
Sucks for you.
I like cakes today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you just don't know, man. The stress of that, and they just learn to take it in stride. And I've met so many other people. Like the most recent one you were talking about, Damian Priest. I know Damian Priest through his introduction at Rumble. I don't watch NXT as much. I understand how great it is. I just don't have time for it. But I met him like most fans might have at Rumble, right? And then Bad Bunny. And I was like blown away by how normal of a dude he is. He's just, and like
Other
how,
than being that tall,
yeah, and like how humble he is, and how down to earth and his view on reality is. So I've always had a soft spot like interviewing wrestlers. I love wrestling. I grew up watching it like you did, right? Like the Attitude Era is special to us. But to meet them and like, damn, these people really are, they're legit. Like I'm sure there's some a-holes out there, right? And
Yeah.
like there's stories, there's a lot of stories about some a-hole wrestlers, right? But for the most part, everyone I've met, they've been the nicest people.
Mhm.
And
Especially
it's
like
cool.
you talk about Damian Priest. I come to know him as a Punishment Martinez when he was wrestling at ROH, I believe, because I went to WrestleMania that they had in New Orleans. So that was what, I forget the numbers of years or whatever. I just know which one it is. But they had a show down there. It was the Super Card show, to where it was ROH guys and New Japan guys, and he had a match with
Wow.
Tomohiro Ishii, and I remember him, and he made a lasting impact on me because he almost killed his damn self. He went over the damn dude was outside, and he ran from in the ring and jumped over the freaking turnbuckle in the post outside to dive on the guy, and almost missed him and hit concrete and everything. I was
Oh,
like, yo, you too big to be doing that.
man.
Because
He's
that's a
like,
big dude. He was like 6'5", 6'6",
yeah.
or whatever. And for him to be just jumping over the ring out to the ground, to the floor, to the guy who he was facing, who is damn like 5 foot something. So he had to go up and down lower to hit the guy. I was like,
You know that guy's not either way. Even if he had landed that successfully, the bump was going to be rough. That's a tough one. When you're that small, like catching a 6'5" guy.
yeah. And so I was like, something special about you, son. Something special
Yeah.
about you.
So I'll leave you with this because I told you I want to talk to you about this with the Roughnecks because that's how we started this thing. So once I got the Roughneck gig, right? They're like, okay, you're in. And I'm like, sweet, what's next? And they go, well, we've got 4 straight days of TV rehearsals. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I've got a normal job. So they're like, hey, so here's what's happening. You're going to show up Saturday at 7 a.m. That's your call time. And you probably won't finish till about 5 p.m. I was like, okay, that's a doable Saturday, whatever. Like, you know what? You got to grind it just a little bit, right? So whatever. And they're like, well, same thing Sunday. And then Monday and Tuesday, you're actually going to be there like 7 to 8. So 7 a.m. till about 8 p.m. And this is 4 straight days. So, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm just a stadium host. Why do you need me there? Well, the reason they needed me there was because they were doing TV and dress rehearsals before the start of the XFL season. And I learned like the WWE does this a lot. So, of course, it's a WWE product, right? Like they make sure their rehearsals are timed out perfectly. Their TV is timed out perfectly, even though Monday Night Raw never finishes on time. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it has never finished on time. And that's something I was going to say to Shane because I ran into Shane O'Mac and I was like, you're so worried about the timing of these XFL games, right? With broadcast partners. Why don't you guys respect that with USA Network? Why does Raw never finish on time? Okay. It has never finished on time ever since I've been watching. But the reason, I mean, like WWE is all about this. It's they just want to be technically sound. They want the camera angles to be perfect. They want stadium hosts to be perfect. They don't want any, bad things coming from announcers. They want you to make your mistakes so nobody sees it. So you don't trend for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So, dude, so starting on that Monday, that's when the official TV rehearsal started. Saturday and Sunday were just like walkthroughs and mic tests and this and that. And I just had to be there. And I was like, cool. They're like, hey, we're paying you, so you're good. I was like, cool. It's like, I'll just sit here and mind my own business. So, but Monday, man, it was a preseason games, like actual preseason games. And we did one, two, three, four, five, 6 games. We did 6 games in a row with different teams, though. Like every team played, but it was 6 straight games, right? And bro, it was the most mentally exhausting thing I've ever done because I was doing like I'm doing these hits of a product I don't even know yet. Nobody knows it. Like I was explaining rules to people in the XFL. Like some of the coaches were like, "Hey,
what happened now?"
yeah, because so they told me like because I was doing rules hits. I don't know if you remember, but I was doing rules hits, right? So I sat down the day I found out. I'm like watching all these videos they sent me from the WWE, from Alpha Entertainment. I'm reading the rules, and we're all trying to understand this, right? And one of the coaches from LA squad was like, "Hey, are we allowed to do this?" I'm like, "No, you're not. That's in the you're not." Like I'm explaining the rules to a coaching staff member because they don't even know them. But then we're doing these hits and they're shuffling partners for me because they had other in-stadium hosts who wanted. I guess I just became like the leader because that was our home stadium. So like I'm helping these other guys understand and women understand, and then they're putting their rules analysts with me. And all of this is being watched by Vince somewhere in a truck, Shane, who's in a suite, like I could see him, and I'm just like stressing the hell out, man. And luckily they liked everything was good. I kept my job, which was great. But it was nuts, man, to see the detail that they have and why they're so successful with the WWE, because you don't get like bad camera angles for the most part. Like they're really good at this because they've walked through this a ton of times.
Yeah, because I mean, even sitting there in the stadium watching like a no shit game and everything, it just everything seemed well put together. Just even the footage that was projected up there on the screen and whatnot, it was great. They had the freaking zip line camera going all over the place. I mean, it was well put together. The only thing I didn't like about that stadium was the PA system.
It sucked. You couldn't hear anything.
I was just like, what?
Yeah, it was tough. That one was rough, man. I don't think the problem was we did everything with the empty stadium to start, right? In an empty stadium, you can hear everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think like no disrespect to the Houston Cougars, right? Because that's where we played the Roughnecks games at TDECU. I don't think they ever had a crowd like that.
No.
You know, and like I don't think they ever experienced it, but their PA system is horrible.
It's boo-boo.
Yeah, you couldn't understand anything. The echo is bad. Like my echo was terrible. Like I'm glad we did those trial runs because I had to figure it out. I was like, I would say a word and be like, hello, and it would come in like a second later. Like usually a delay is about 0.25 seconds, which is fine. But that one was brutal. So I had to teach myself to ignore hearing myself. And it was just like those kind of things. Like, but if I had to learn that on the first game, it would have been horrible. Yeah. But because we had 6 different games, technical run throughs, I was like, it's like, I'm ready to go. This is the easiest job in the world.
Yeah. I had I called it the Hell Hydra line or whatever. It was like, for the love of football or some shit.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was that, for the love. They literally told us to say that after everything.
Yes.
Because they wanted to drive it home. Was like, this is all about football. This isn't about the old XFL. It was all about football. But that is it is the Hail Hydra line. It's so true.
Like, touchdown for the love of football.
For the love of football.
Welcome to the Roughneck for the love of football.
Yo, it was legit. Like every hit I did in the trial run through. So again, it was 6 games. I had 8 to 10 hits per game. After each and every one, I had to say, for the love of football. And I was like, I just read a concession stand read like, hey, yo, there's popcorn available for the love of football. It was real, man. That's what they wanted. They wanted people to know it was about football. Yeah, that's dope. That's a pretty funny thing. Our Hail Hydra line.
But shit, thinking about that or whatever, are you keeping up with any of the Marvel stuff? Had you watched WandaVision and all that?
I did. I'm caught up on everything. I'm caught up on the most recent episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is dope. I loved WandaVision. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought the final episode kind of it didn't have that bang that the rest of the season did, but man, I thought it was such a brilliant show. It was so different.
Yeah.
Like to me, I like breaking it down on a technical standpoint, acting standpoint, right? Like the stories were great. I thought the characters are great. But I've said this so many times about that show is you've got 2 characters that we know, right? In Wanda and in Vision, right? So their mechanics, what they what they would do as characters and all that. And those actors had to take those essential core characteristics and then apply it to a whole new different style, whether it be 50s, 60s, 70s, and still keep that core. Like, that is so hard to do. If I told you, Rob, you got to be you, but now you've got to do it as a K-pop boy band member. Could you do that?
No, I don't think so.
Even if I gave you lines, like, it was brilliant.
First of all,
acting.
I gotta have hair for that. So I mean, I probably had to give me a nice little lace front or something so I can.
Yeah, and you got to shave the mustache because there's no facial hair in K-pop boy bands. You're not allowed to do that. But that's what they did. They're like, hey, and these are like characters we all love, right? And we know what their backgrounds and all that. I just thought it was great acting. I thought it was just a good concept.
And it remains to be seen what we're gonna get from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because we only within a couple hours we'd be 2 episodes in.
Yep.
But damn, they don't get paid. You know, the superheroes in this universe. There's like, because they went to apply for the loan or whatever and they couldn't get it. It's like, man, you ain't got no 5 years worth of earnings. I didn't exist for 5 years. What you mean?
That's what I love about. That's a great point. I love the human consequences in all of this, right? Like, hey, they're still humans, and yeah, they're helping out the government, they're helping out the Avengers, all that stuff. But they don't have a steady job. Like, they're not. What are they getting? Like, they're probably getting some kind of government stipend, right, to be there. Or Tony Stark is probably throwing them a rack or two, right, like, to be there. But there's no there's no merchandising, right? Like,
no 401k plan for this.
Yeah. So that is an interesting thing about it, and it's something that a lot of veterans run into, right? Like, afterwards is like, hey, I've been away for 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever years, right? And I'm getting something, but you're asking me to come back in and pick up and like, what do you want me to do here? It's such an unfair thing. And so it speaks about not only like, like from the comic book standpoint, but I think of all government related officials and people that are serving, military members. Like, I think it's a greater point on that, is like, hey, welcome back to the world. Well, now you want me to get myself back into the world, but the world's not ready to accept me.
Yeah,
it's bullshit.
Exactly, because I mean, I've been through that as well. I mean, I retired in 2016, and it was just a culture shock for me, because us being in and being active duty is just like, oh man, this is crap, you know, and whatever. But after separating and being out, it's just like, man, they spoiled the shit out of us, you know, because like I didn't really want for nothing, as far as like, you know, because I wore the same shit every day. It was a uniform.
Yeah.
And if I my boots wore out, if I had a good supply chief, I can get a new pair of boots or whatever, or, you know, a new top or a new bottom or something like that. Or, you know, if we go out to, you know, a different duty station or whatnot, they'll provide us with food and all kind of things like that. You know, out here, it's just like, man, you better figure that shit out.
You better cook your own meals.
Better pack a lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, that's crazy to think about. And then like, with another thing, because, you know, Kevin Feige, he's the head over Marvel and everything. He's their Vince McMahon pretty much, because they got all these people on the bottom and like, we have all these ideas and everything, but it all got to go up to Kevin before it goes out to us in viewing and whatnot. The Spider-Man movies, specifically the first one, Homecoming, I believe it was. The premise of that was the actual people who clean up the wreckage after the superheroes do all the damage.
Yeah.
Well, I was just like, that's another aspect that we never really delve into, and that's pretty cool of them to kind of dig into that.
Yeah, well, that's how they did, right? The Sokovia Accords and anything after Sokovia was like, hey, you guys wrecked the whole city, like, it's gone. What are the consequences of this, right? Like, and that's, I think that's what's helped Marvel excel in all of this, is that, yeah, it's a comic book movie. Yeah, it's, you know, it's fictional and all that, but there are human consequences in everything that we do as actual humans that we can use through these symbolic messages of comic books. And that's what's made it so good. And I think that's what
I appreciated about the Christopher Nolan Batman series or whatever,
yeah,
trilogy or whatever. It was grounded more in reality rather than that
Yep.
comic book realm and whatnot. I mean, I don't know in what reality we got to do run around in a bat suit, but I mean, but they kept it grounded as much as they could.
Yeah, like you still have Batman, who's a comic book hero, but they did a good job of explaining how Batman has all this technology. Well, you've got Lucius Fox, who is part of a multi-billion-dollar corporation that has this hidden R&D department. That's where he's getting all this tech. It's not some made up, like they're working on stuff, right? Like they're working on the Batwing, they're working on the tumbler, bat tumbler and all that stuff, right? It's not just like, hey, here you go, here's your bat suit and everything. No, these are actual things that they're military contract, R&D. So that's why it was so good. Like you're like, oh, I could totally see a psychotic guy who dresses up like a Joker, who's just picking on mobsters to make a point about society. I can see that. Or the Scarecrow, right? Like Scarecrow's the dumbest bad guy ever, but it makes sense. Like, hey, there's this guy who figured out this scientific breakthrough that can mess with you psychotically, and he's going around spraying people. I can see that happen.
I just seen Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker. I just seen it.
Man, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it made me feel bad.
Yeah.
I know.
You don't want to mistreat people, right?
I was like, that's some societal shit. I mean, this didn't have to be called the Joker or whatever. This could have just been regular Joe Schmo.
Yeah. This could have just been called society.
Yeah. And have you seen the Snyder Cut?
I have. I watched it the first night. I watched all 4 hours. It's much better. I will end on this. So it is much better than a movie that had 2 directors and a whole different plot that was the same plot, but it was like hijacked, right? It was, of course, it's going to be better.
Yeah.
Now, if we had to be like a jury pool, right? And they go, all right, jury, you have to throw away the first cut of that movie and act like you never saw it. But we saw it. Like, that's what we're going to compare it to. You can tell us not to. It's impossible. If that movie was a standalone and that's what they released, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But it still was not a really good movie. Right? Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, it was more enjoyable. I the fact that Cyborg, like, you saw the human element of Cyborg and all that, was the driving factor of the story woven in with the Flash, which was nice, and not just like the Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman crap. This was like, hey, these are 2 side characters and their story is driving all of this, which is nice. But it still wasn't a good movie. Like, it doesn't, like, when you put a comic book top 10 out, it's not cracking the top 10. There's too many slow-mo shots. Okay.
10% of that film was slow-mo.
Yo, they could have done it. It could have been 3 hours long. It was just too much slow-mo. But it was more enjoyable. I thought it was better. I hated the 4:3 aspect. I hated it. Look, we work hard. Okay, we got that big ass TV. All right, I want everything. I want the whole thing taken over. I don't want a big box and then sidebars. I want the picture all in there.
Very well. Point taken.
Did you like it?
Yeah. I've watched it twice already.
Damn.
Yeah, it's yeah. I had time, but yeah, I watched it day one, and then I went back and watched the original, and then I went back and watched it again, because the first time you usually watch something is just like, oh, this is something new or whatever. And then the second time I went back and watched it, I had to analyze it because somebody had me as a guest on the show and we was going to talk about it, so I wanted to watch it again.
Oh, that's good.
Take down my notes and everything like that. But 10 hours later, watching all that stuff, you're right. But the only thing that I missed from the original cut is just like some of the jokes or whatever.
Yeah,
because
all the humor was gone.
Yeah, they completely obliterated all that shit. Because like I was sitting there waiting for Superman when he came back. He had Batman by the neck. He was like, "You won't let me live. You won't let me die." And I was like, "Where's that line?" All right, they didn't put that in there. And he was like, "Do you bleed?" And then he threw him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, something's bleeding." They cut that out. They cut out the scene to where the Flash fell on top of Wonder Woman and everything, rightfully so. But,
yeah, the sexual tension that never like got resolved in that movie either, which is kind of weird. I do appreciate that they left in Kal-El. No, that Wonder Woman line was so terrible, it was so horrible. like she's not a good actress, right? We all agree Gal Gadot is not a good actress, right?
Yeah,
Like
I guess.
she looks like Wonder Woman, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
She's not a good actress. Wonder Woman 1984 was a disaster of a movie. It was from the movie, from the acting, it was all bad.
So we get a Snyder cut of that.
Yeah, I hope not. I'm not even Snyder can't look, he's not saving that crap. But it was, and I watched the original too 2 weeks before. Because I knew it was coming out on March 16th. Was it March 16th that came out, right? Like, does that sound right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or March 18th, excuse me, because it was March 18th it came out.
Mhm.
So I knew like we were gonna get it. I'm pumped. My best friend David Nuno, we talk about it on our podcast that we always talk about comic book movies too. So we knew we were gonna get it. So I was like, let me go watch one Batman Superman versus Superman. Watch that, then watch the original Justice League, and then I'll watch the Snyder cut. And I left the original Justice League. I was like, I remember being way worse than it was. Like it was a bad movie, but
Yeah.
I like the jokes and all the memes on the internet make it way worse than it really was. Like it was okay. It was fine. It was fine. Even the Snyder, it was like it's fine, but it's not a great movie. It's not a top 10 comic book movie. It's good. It's there.
Okay. To close out of everything that we've had over the past 10 years with Marvel and just other movies subsequently released and whatnot, what has been your top three?
Dark Knight Rises for sure. Oh, no, sorry, The Dark Knight won, not Dark Knight Rises, because Dark Knight Rises it's in there, but Dark Knight is number one. There's no way to beat it. Infinity Wars is 2. Okay, I loved Endgame. It was awesome. It was like the perfect ending. I loved it. But that moment where in Infinity War where shit goes sideways and like everyone still disappears, it was one of those holy bleep moments. Right? Like, and then Thor coming down the way he did was fantastic. I thought that was a better reveal than anything that happened in Endgame. Like, the portals and all that. It was cool. But to me, when Thor comes down with Rocket by his side, like I was like, yes, this is great. I love that. So that's number 2.
Yeah, it's like I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers.
Yes, Steve. Yes, that's such a okay. That's great. And number 3, man, let me think real quickly off the top of my head what I loved. Last 10 Iron Man, the original Iron Man was revolutionary to me. It started everything. It made sense of like, hey, this could happen. It was awesome. So and I recently watched Ragnarok again. That's really good. I'm just throwing my really good for number 3.
Yeah, honorable mentions.
But to me, number 3 of all of these, it's Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Yeah.
Volume 1 or chapter. Was it chapter or volume? They did volume.
Volume 1. Yeah.
Man, that was fantastic. I had no expectations for Guardians. I had nothing. Like I didn't even watch it in theaters. Okay. Like I was like, I'm good. I don't want to watch this crap. I'm sure we'll figure this out. When I watched it at home, I watched it 3 straight days. I was like, this is great. The music was great, the timing, the characters. I make the argument that Rocket is the best character in this Marvel chapter. Like, I think he is exactly what you want, right? Like a redemption story. He has a human element to it. He's just great. Like Rocket's the best.
I didn't want to be made. I didn't ask to be made like this.
Yeah, like that. Those scenes, right? Like his caring of Groot, his relationship with Thor, his egging on. Like it's just I think he's just like the perfect character.
Yeah, just like even his roles in Infinity War, like how you saying or whatever. He's like, I guess gotta go be the captain, just sitting there consoling Thor and everything, like
stuff like that. Like I think it's just I think he's brilliant. So I would go. Those are my top 3 in the last 10 years.
Word. I can dig that, but with that being said, I appreciate you giving me your time and everything. We're gonna go ahead and put a pin in it right here. Because I mean, we done opened the Pandora's box of talking about wrestling and comic book movies or whatever. And that's just my jam. And that could just be his own thing by itself.
Here, brother.
But before you go, let everybody know where they can find you on social media and what you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You can follow me on Instagram at Raheel Doing things. You look up Raheel, I'm probably the only one that comes up. Follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. I'll interact with everybody at _Raheel. You can find me there. You can listen to my podcasts. I've got 2 separate podcasts. I've got the Raheel Show podcast that I do with one of my friends, Jose. That's more pop culture, sneakers, music, everything but sports. It's called the Raheel Show podcast, available everywhere. Then you can find the No Layups podcast that I do with David Nuno on ABC 13's app, which is a local station here in Houston. So if you're listening from other places, look up ABC 13. You'll find all of our archives up there. And then you can watch me doing sports on NTV Houston. I do a daily sports update on their Facebook page that you can watch and support as well.
Was it always Raheel doing things? Because you wasn't always doing things. There's a whole year to where nobody was doing anything. So
no, I took it. At one point it was public Raheel because I have a private account that I use for family. I don't post pictures of my wife and my daughter because they don't like that stuff out there. Like, they didn't sign up for this, right? So I have a private one, but then I started a public one called Public Raheel because that's what it was. It was my public account. But then it just never got like any traction, right? So it's like, I need a new bit. So there was an account called Kanye Doing Things on Instagram, which is so freaking funny. Like, here's Kanye eating a corn dog. And I was like, what if I create an account called Raheel Doing Things where I have like this make-believe guy who's just posting stuff about me doing things. So if you go back in my old post, it's like Raheel is running and it's just me posting it, but it just makes it seem like it's a fan run account just to stand out. And that helped a little bit, but yeah, that's, you got to do it. If I didn't have to do Instagram, I wouldn't I don't care. Like, I just want to post dumb stuff on Twitter. That's all. I love Twitter, but you got to do it for work, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Instagram because of Walmart.
Yeah.
Yes, I got to go in the alcohol aisle and see how many bad choices people have made. So
I love it, man. Dude, thank you so much for having me on today.
Yes, and as it is for every guest of the Random Rounds with Rob, you're welcome. The door is always open for you to come back to promote your next big thing or just to shoot shit.
I will, man. I appreciate it. I'll definitely be back, Rob.
All right. We are